1.
World War V. I pushed boxes at the Boston Tea Party. Now I'm going to die in a dungeon. In Cardiff.
Okay.
Come through the rift, and I can take you to a new land, and we can call it this land. I think we should call it your grave. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. Welcome, gaslamp ghosts, literary giants, and precursors to popular characters, to the 186th episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 14th of December, 2016. And featuring The Unquiet Dead, written by Mark Gatiss and starring Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. That's right, we are back to Doctor Who, and there was much rejoicing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You were all supposed to say, yay.
I'm sorry. I actually wanted to say that. I actually wanted to make a comment on that for a bit myself. Because after all the repeated spin-off, Big Finish, spin-off, it just feels so nice to actually put in an episode of Doctor Who and watch it for review.
I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
They've brought more Black Label in.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Hello.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Grand Theft Fantasy 15.
Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
God bless us, everyone.
And Miles Reed Lobato.
I promise I'm not going to speak too Welsh this episode.
So should we be calling him Tiny Tim the Enchanter for this evening? Or?
So Miles, does that mean you're going to be the one defending Cardiff?
Hey,
This episode did like to take the piss out of Cardiff.
out of all the capital cities I've ever bought a drink in, Cardiff was the cheapest.
Nice.
Thumbs up.
More like bottoms up.
Really? And they call us here in Wisconsin professionals.
Cheaper than Glasgow?
Well, there's less threats of violence in Cardiff than there are in Glasgow. I mean,
Fair
in
enough.
Glasgow!
Glasgow!
Glasgow! A pint in Glasgow!
Well, that's true. I mean, it's kind of like, the two pastimes up there is drinking and fighting, and they're kind of one pastime put together. But, I mean, we've had comedians refer to us as professional alcoholics here in Wisconsin. We have a ratio of 4-to-1 of bar to church ratios in most of our small towns. It's like bar, church, bar, bar,
Black sheep.
There's at least 2 gas stations to every church,
Yeah,
too.
I've never counted because you can't go a block on Main Street without passing 2 of each.
Okay, so I grew up in this little town, population of about 130 something. It had 4 bars. Think about that.
Did they take shifts at night?
Not that I'm aware of, and they were all and they all did enough business to keep them pretty full. And then you go 10 miles down the road, and there's another bar, hanging out in the middle of nowhere. Another 10 miles down the road, and there's another one. This one's on the intersection of like a highway and a county trunk road, but it's a bar. And then after that, you got into Prairie, and that was frick ton of bars. So, and of course, you go up the other way, you get into another small town, more bars. It just works that way. I swear, you have more bar space than you actually have small town population. Probably because probably the farmers come in.
Maybe.
Anywho, Doctor Who.
Yes. We should get on with that. We do have a actual episode we want to review this evening. So first of all, let's move on to the news. And we do have a bunch of birthdays this time. Starting and the 8th of December, we have Jenny Linden, who played Barbara in the Doctor Who movies, the 60s movies, you know, the ones that we reviewed.
Moons ago. They were all right. They weren't
the ones
great.
With Peter
they weren't
Cushing.
Horrible. Peter Cushing made those movies.
Anyway, she was Barbara, I think, in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
It said 2 credits, but I didn't check if they were both from the movie.
Oh, wait, no. Barbara, I think, was the only one that retained through, didn't she?
I think so.
Oh, it was Susan.
Susan was the only one that retained through. Barbara got replaced with a cousin in the next movie.
Ah.
You sure about that?
I'm absolutely sure about that.
Okay.
I'm not sure why you're thinking there was 2 bits of her as Barbara.
Well,
because the supporting cast were kind of forgettable.
Yeah. Yeah, she's not listed in the credits for the second movie. So if they gave her 2 credits, that was an error. Anyway, she's 77. I don't think she's been doing anything in particular.
I'm pretty sure she probably retired.
Probably. I'm actually looking her up now and seeing if she has anything she's been doing recently. I see nothing past 1991.
So, yeah.
It does say that she has continued to do different roles, but apparently she's become a bit actor.
Either a bit actor or she's been doing mostly plays, which is also a thing in Britain.
Mm-hmm. She seems to be mostly a television actress, so. But bit roles. Nothing I can really report on. Anyway, happy birthday, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, the 9th, we have 2 birthdays, one of which was Eric Soward, story editor during the 5th and 6th Doctor era, and not the most popular person here on the podcast. He turned 72.
And
happy birthday. What?
Did he celebrate it by shooting a lot of people for no good reason?
Maybe he wrote about it.
Maybe he wrote about it and they all turned into puddles of goo.
There should have been another way. Happy birthday, Eric.
Also, birthday on the same day is Waris Hussein, who was the director for An Unearthly Child and I think a little bit in the early Doctor Who era.
From what I saw, it was just An Unearthly Child and Marco Polo.
Marco Polo. I knew there was another credit in there.
Yeah. Which, granted, from what hearsay has made it for the past 50 years, apparently it was a brilliant looking story. Unfortunately, there's no visuals to comment on.
Yeah, and even so, I bet it would have been even more brilliant if they'd actually filmed it in color.
Yeah,
because I've seen some color photographs from that.
Yeah, they actually had a lot of color photographs left over from that, and I saw recreations using that. And while it's boring to watch still images, they were actually really nice still images. So
since we're talking about that that episode, actually, Ping Cho's actress was another one who had a birthday sometime this week, but she got cut for space.
Well, yeah, I mean, she only has 1 credit, and we usually don't report on people that have 1 credit unless they have a very big other significance.
Like
more on that later.
We'll be talking about later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the 10th, we have also dealing with An Unearthly Child, Anthony Coburn, the writer, turned 89. Unfortunately, he died in 1977 at the age of 49. So. Moving on to the 11th, Richard Matthews, who played Rassilon in 1983. That would have been during the 5 Doctors, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's the animated GIF I have of him going right there.
And he also died in 1992 at 77. He would have been 102.
Wow.
3 years short of a good run.
It happens.
Well. Moving on to the 12th.
Immortality is a curse, not a blessing.
Moving on to the 12th, we have Sarah Sutton. Nissa turned 55. Happy birthday, Sarah. Sarah Sutton up to anything other than Big Finish these days?
The first image I have that
Sure.
looks recent is her in front of a microphone, so...
Doesn't
Her
look
voice
like it.
hasn't aged a day.
So she's
Yeah,
got that going for her.
It looks like she just does Big Finish and does the convention circuit. And then finally, our last birthday is Bill Nighy, the actor from England who was Dr. Black in Vincent and the Doctor, and is better known as many roles in science fiction, including Slarta Bartfist from the Hitchhiker's movie, Slughorn from the Harry Potter, from I think the last Harry Potter movie, and
He was Scrimgeour and Slughorn?
no, Scrumgeyer. That's it, Scrumgeyer. Thank you. I didn't have that listed here. I just knew he was in it.
Gotcha.
And a few other things, but so he's a very popular actor with a bit of a geeky twist to it. He turned 67 on the 12th. Happy birthday, Bill. And then we've covered birth dates, so now let's cover deaths. And we only have one, and it's kind of a big one, but not a big Doctor Who one. We must say goodbye to astronaut John Glenn, who died on the 8th. He was the first American to orbit the Earth, and is the oldest person ever to actually go into space, as he did so, I believe, in 2008. That also makes him the only astronaut to be in both the Mercury capsules and the space shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
So his loss is a bit of a tragedy. How old
Sounds
was
like
he?
someone the Doctor will name drop as someone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How old
Possibly.
was he?
He was in his 90s.
The article I linked to gives an age, I think.
He was 95, so that's past a good run into the, we kind of expected that.
Right.
Almost, yeah.
And did you say 2008 was when we last went into space?
Mm-hmm. Or
1998 was the last
Oh,
time.
98. Okay, I was going to
98.
say, I'm like, wow, that would have been well into his 80s.
No, it was into his 70s. He was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012. So he was also a senator when he went into space.
Oh.
Nowadays, you hear a senator doing stuff like that.
It's not usual, and they did it specifically as a tribute,
Mm-hmm.
and making him, of course, the oldest person to ever go into space. Now, mind you, it would have been a crying shame if the Discovery had gone up with him on it. Could you imagine that? But of course, the Discovery didn't go up because it didn't start with C. This is what NASA learned. Don't start your shuttlecraft or don't start your space shuttle with C, because they had two, Columbia and Challenger, and they both went to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, John
So
Glenn.
don't name the first ship to Mars the Colonizer.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, John Glenn will be missed.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you are.
Moving on.
All right, moving on. We have two new trailers for the Doctor Who Christmas special this year. One is about 30 seconds long, and the other is 24 seconds with a little bit of a splashier ending, a little bit more graphics intensive kind of banner-like thing. So, but yes, even Peter Capaldi has mentioned that that this episode kind of reminds him of the old Superman movies with Christopher Reeve in them. So, did you guys notice any other big changes or additions?
No, we all watched it, and it pretty much shows us a lot of stuff we've already seen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The entire trailer looked new to me, but
there
then
was some new dialogue. There was some new dialogue in the first one there.
But it's all the same. It's all parts of the same scenes. They didn't reveal anything else.
Yeah, I don't think it really gave us anything that's unexpected compared to what we've already seen. I mean, we heard what sounded like a non-copyright version of the. We saw that the I forget his name, but the black man apparently works for the company that owns the building.
I think we knew that one, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I don't think we really had anything to go off before, because I was speculating that he might be a Jimmy Olsen, half jokingly, but apparently he's definitely not.
Did we see the ghost fly away with I can't remember her name, the lady?
I think that was in one of the photos.
It was in one of the photos, and she was he was flying off of her in the early section.
Of course they are. He's freaking a Superman XP, and she's a Lois Lane XP. Of course he'll fly off with her.
Mm-hmm.
But will he kiss her and take away her memory?
I hope not. I really hope not.
Only if he reveals himself.
Although if it happened that the doctor saw it, he'd just be like, been there, done that.
Only if he reveals himself to her.
Oh.
And even then, she'll remember in a couple episodes later.
Snuggy, nice and warm.
All right,
That's
so
all
I
we
guess
have to say on the new trailers?
I think that's our cue to move on.
While everybody's names are crawling over Tim's articles, luckily he has the tab open already.
Yes, went on. The new news is that a writer is returning to Doctor Who for season 10. Welcome back, Toby Whithouse. Who tweeted?
Okay. Go ahead.
Writing an episode of Doctor Who. Whithouse was previously written for Doctor Who with School Reunion, The Vampires of Venice, The God Complex, A Town Called Mercy, and last season's two-part story Under the Lake and Before the Flood.
Okay.
It's a pretty good record.
Let's take a look at that. School Reunion, great episode.
Fantastic episode.
Vampires of Venice, mediocre. God Complex, mediocre. Town Called Mercy, good. And we liked Under the Lake and Before the Flood. So that's generally positive.
Yeah.
The only iffy thing about that was the Doctor breaking the fourth wall.
Mm-hmm. The only one I remember really having a major issue with was the effects on one of them, and that doesn't include the writing of the story, which was perfectly good in that story. So he has a good record. He'll write another good episode, hopefully. He's been batting 3 out of 5. So.
And the other two aren't exactly horrible episodes.
Right.
Just
they're
mundane.
Mediocre. Yeah.
So no matter what we get, we'll at least get something decent.
Yeah.
And it said it will be episode 8 will be Toby's. In the running order.
Okay.
Okay. We'll have to keep an eye open for that.
Speaking of Doctor Who, according to Cultbox, it may take place in Gallifrey. Here's what we know so far. What we know is that Line of Duty director Daniel Nedheim, who confirmed last month that he would be helming the current block of Season 10 shoot, has been seen in the Canary Islands, where Doctor Who has filmed scenes that took place in Gallifrey, Skaro, and New Mexico.
Okay.
So all we know is that Daniel Nedheim was in the Canary Islands. We don't even know for sure that he was there in connection with Doctor Who. And if he was there in connection with Doctor Who, it could mean that an episode is going to take place in New Mexico, Skaro, or Gallifrey.
Or another similar desert-like planet.
I'm assuming that photo
I'm kind of wondering
Gomez
why you included this with the news, Bill, because it's a bunch of thin.
I didn't realize that I didn't like. I guess I didn't read in as much detail because I didn't realize that part about he hasn't confirmed if he's there for Doctor Who. I thought it was confirmed that this location was appearing and that they weren't sure, any more detail than that.
No, they don't even know that he was there for Doctor Who. As far as we know, he was there for a frickin' vacation.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't read that far down.
Fluff piece closing.
I'm assuming that photo of Michelle Gomez is. Oh yeah, it says Jenna Coleman, so it's definitely
from last year.
The previous episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bill, as a personal reminder, if it's on DoctorWhoNews.net, you can pretty much copy it over. If it's on Cultbox, read the article.
Well, personally, my money's on New Mexico.
And I don't get that. If they're going to film a scene that takes place in New Mexico, why the hell don't they go to New Mexico? They're going to film New York, they go to New York. It's not that much more expensive.
Maybe the Canary Islands are really cheap.
They do the American West, they go to Spain. I can understand that one because that's been done before. But
it's closer.
Or maybe it's easier just to have Zygons walking down the street in the Canary Islands.
Could it be a tax break thing?
Maybe.
That's why a lot of American films film in England.
Mm-hmm.
And Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I thought most of them filmed in Vancouver these days. Or Georgia.
Not necessarily. Depends on what you need. What you be buying?
So that apparently the end of that one. So we move on to Past Doctors and 8th Doctor Paul McGann. He will be, according to DoctorWhoNews.net, he will be starring in a short film project written by his brother Mark McGann, based on Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poem Perplexed Music. It is being funded by a Kickstarter campaign and will be filmed in the spring of 2017 in Wiltshire, Cornwall, and Somerset.
So he's really kind of doing it for his brother.
Yeah.
A short film helping out his brother. Kickstarter and all that good stuff.
If I was a poetry person, I could probably tell you the significance of that, but I am not, and I...
Only thing significant to us is that Paul McGann's doing it, and it's like, oh, okay.
Paul does say, I can't wait. I love performing roles that throw you out of your comfort zone. That's part of the buzz of performing. So there's something about this that takes him out of his comfort.
Well, it's a poetry piece of some sort, apparently. So
yeah, that might be it. It might just be like that it's nonverbal or something.
Depends, yeah.
Click on the Kickstarter link while we're talking about it and see if that gives...
Let's see if that gives us any quick explanations.
They're almost half pledged.
So I'm not doing too bad then. 16 days to go though, so if you want to help Paul get into a short film here, here's your chance, folks.
Okay, apparently the poem in question is an Italian sonnet about the love, loss, and rebirth cycle.
Which in and of itself sounds like deep stuff, but okay.
And if you want things like signed photographs and other things of that nature, go check out the Kickstarter.
Yeah, that really sounds on what my my father's relatives would call long hair stuff.
Poetry hit.
Yeah, I'm not really into that long hair stuff. I like to drink beer and watch NASCAR. Yeah.
They got around again.
So it moves us on to contests.
Yep, and there's a whole bunch of contests for December, as usual. We might have mentioned some of these, but we're going to cover them again just to be on the safe side. It looks like, I'm double-checking, all of these end on the 8th of January.
So next month, folks, better hurry.
The The first one is actually, let me double check one other thing. Worldwide, UK only, worldwide. Okay, so unless otherwise stated, these are also open worldwide. So the first one is for the BBC audio, I guess, audioization of the novel. It's the audio version of the novelization of the Space Pirates. When Space Beacon Alpha 1 disintegrates into lumps of metal, General Hammock of the Space Corps realizes that the Space Pirates have discovered a new source of precious aragonite. After witnessing further destruction, the General leads a squad of guards on Beacon Alpha 4 just as the TARDIS materializes. Suspected by the Space Corps of being pirates, they then pursued by spies by the pirates themselves, the Dr. Zoe and Jamie attempt to unmask the mastermind behind the thefts of aragonite. In doing so, they risk execution, explosion, and asphyxiation in the vacuum of space. Oh, God, that really twisted my tongue. So to win this, you must answer the following question. When we first met Milo Clancy, he throws away the charred remains from out of his toaster, but which televised story saw the Doctor reveal his feelings over such burnt offerings? I will give you a hint. It is a 7th Doctor episode. That's send your answers to comp-spacepirates@doctorwhonews.net with the subject howdy. Please include your name, address, and where you heard about the competition and Unearthly Podcast. And again, closing 8th of January. Next one is BBC Audio, The Scales of Injustice. When a boy goes missing and a policewoman starts drawing cave paintings, the Doctor suspects the Silurians are back. With the Brigadier distracted by questions about unit funding and problems at home, the Doctor swears his assistant Liz Shaw to secrecy and investigates alone. But Liz has inquiries of her own, teaming up with the journalist to track down people who don't exist. What is the mysterious glass house, and why is it so secret? As the Silurians wake from their ancient slumber, the Doctor, Liz, and the Brigadier are caught up in a conspiracy to exploit UNIT's achievements. A conspiracy that reaches deep into the heart of the British government. For a chance to win the audiobook, you must answer the following question. Which is the only televised story so far to explicitly mention the C-19 organization? And send that answer to with your name, address, where you heard the competition, and Unearthly Podcast to comp-scalesofInjustice@doctorwhonews.net with the subject, This Is Still Our Planet. Again, worldwide, again, 8th January. All right, the next one's from BBC Books. The Pirate Planet. We've recovered this one, so I'm not going to give the summary. You should know what the episode is. Just backtrack, and we'll see our review of The Pirate Planet. To win a chance for the book, courtesy of BBC Books, simply answer the following question. Name one of the remaining stories from the original television series that has yet to be published in book form. This is a UK-only contest. Send your answers along with your name, address, and where you heard about the competition and Unearthly Podcast to comp-piratplanet@doctorwhonews.net with the subject, I declare a new golden age. And again, UK only, again, 8th January. Finally, well, actually, almost finally, Big Finish, Cold Fusion. A newly regenerated 5th Doctor arrives on an occupied ice planet where the 7th Doctor is investigating dangerous energy experiments conducted by the Earth Empire. But events spin out of control when a refugee from the distant past arrives. Patience, the Doctor's wife. Seriously? To be in a chance to win a digital download of the audio adventure courtesy of Big Finish, simply answer the following question. What is the 7th Doctor's favorite biscuit as revealed in this story? So please send your answer along with the name and email address you have requested with Big Finish, plus where you heard about the competition and Unearthly Podcast, to comp-coldfusion@doctorwhonews.net with the subject, Crashed Time. This is worldwide, 8th of January. You must have an active registration with Big Finish in order to receive the prize.
So
And
patience, isn't that from the Aztecs?
No,
Or is that something else?
it's a companion from the Doctor's era, or from the Big Finish era, from one of the Big Finish stuff.
Arg.
So Candy Jar Books is also running competition for purchasers to win a piece of Lethbridge Stewart artwork by Richard Young. If you are interested in this, actually, I'm trying to see this because it's in very tiny print here.
Complete this phrase, chap with wings. When you buy any Candy Jar Books, quote, chomp and your answer, and you will then unlikely be entered into our prize draw. Closing date is the 31st of December this year. This artwork will not be sold by Candy Jar under any circumstances. Artwork supplied by Richard Young.
By the way, it's comp, C-O-M-P, as your answer. Quote, comp. And your answer, I should say.
And then your answer, yeah.
Yeah. So it's obviously something for their auto computer system. Anyway, that's how you win that. Apparently you have to buy to win, so...
So if you haven't bought any of their books, but you've been intending to, you could be entered in automatically to win a piece of artwork, and it looks nice.
Yeah, it is kind of cool looking.
All right, well, that's it for the contests.
Okay. And we are moving on to the auctions. We've actually got a few auctions going on.
That's not unusual this time of year.
Well, yeah, for charity and whatnot. And there is a mini heritage plaque for John Pertwee up for auction. Back in October, the Doctor Who Appreciation Society unveiled a blue heritage plaque at New Wimbledon Theatre in London in honor of the third Doctor, John Pertwee. It has now produced 25 miniature versions, which you can purchase on the website. There's also a special one up for auction that includes signatures from many of the guests who attended the event, including John Whitfield, Fenella Fielding, Barry Cryer, John Coleshaw, Ingeborg Pertwee, Dariel Pertwee, Lorraine Chase, Timothy Combe, Michael Ferguson, Bob Baker, Katie Manning, Jeremy Bullock, Richard Franklin, Peter Miles, David Banks, Prentice Hancock, Graham Harper, and Seatown.
What, they couldn't get Sean they couldn't get Sean to sign it too?
I was gonna say.
I guess he was in America at the time.
Too busy doing Gotham.
Yeah. All proceeds will go to the Society's plaque fund, and that money will be used to pay for the new plaque at Wimbledon Theatre.
He was in hiding with Master Bruce.
The dedication event and for the Grand Order of Water Rats, which John was an enthusiastic supporter of during his life. There's a guy who wanders around Odyssey Con claiming to be a muskrat. I wonder if that's in any kind of connection to water
well,
rats.
there's a whole bunch of these Grand Order of things all over the place. I don't know if any of them have anything to do with each other.
You should note that the plaque is available till early on Saturday. It's got 2 days and 6 hours left as of recording this live, and currently has 45 bids and is sitting at £410,
which is a lot, more than I can handle.
Yeah,
the plaque does look cool, though. I actually would like to have a photograph of that up when that's up on the building. John Pertwee, 1919 to 1996, actor, entertainer, and Time Lord, worked here.
Oh yeah, there is a Grand Order of Water Rats. Okay. Water rats and everything. Wow.
Aaron.
I'm sorry, I got distracted by weird
stuff. I know.
All right. Another auction that's going up is Pierre Capaldi's Shooting shooting script. Was this one for
Into the
Dalek? That's what it was. Of course, starring Peter Capaldi. It will be taking place at Sotheby's next Tuesday, December 13th. That's actually yesterday.
Yeah. Oops, Bill. So it happened yesterday.
It happened yesterday, and it is it has a illustrated title page. Is a complete one-off, obviously, if you've seen the episode. Includes postcards inscribed with best wishes from Peter Capaldi, Doctor, and then question mark.
So there are still auctions that aren't held on eBay then?
Mm-hmm.
Thought everyone had kind of migrated.
Not really.
Sotheby's is an old auction house.
Yes, it's very, very, very famous. And by the way, that lot sold for £3,875.
That's a lot to pay for a script of an episode.
As it has Capaldi's signature on the front.
I guess that helps.
A little bit.
Does that mean that the rest of the doodles on the cover were by him too? Because he apparently made fan artwork in the day.
Well,
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. All right, this auction raises money to the House of Illustration, the UK's only public gallery devoted to illustration, based in King's Cross, London. So, it does not receive any public funding, raising all the money from admissions, retail, and fundraising. So, and it also puts on exhibitions and events and promotes new illustration talent and everything. Let me see here. Any other things? This is also part of 40 original illustrations up for auction by various artists and designers and musicians.
So in other words, it was something that they put together and then they had Peter Capaldi sign it for them. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. Tim?
Moving on to me. There's a new book out. Volume 2 of Space Helmet for a Cow. The Mad True Story of Doctor Who, published by Mad Norwegian Press. And Doctor Who News is pleased to offer an exclusive extract from the book for download.
This apparently volume covers 1990 through 2013.
Well, they got a couple more years to update, but that'll be volume 3.
The first part of that's going to be relatively scant. Chapter 1, 1990 through 1995. Chapter 2, 1996.
Well, I mean, how wasn't Virgin pretty active in the early 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe 90 to 95 is what they called the wilderness years, was it not?
Yes.
A couple years before that.
Not from 89 to 05 is considered the wilderness years, but and then there was an episode there written by J&T, and why are people dragging me away and trying to gag me?
Sorry.
One at a time.
Horrible thing.
You're trying to say, Aaron?
Oh, sorry. I like some of the questions that it attempts to answer. Did Benny and Bjorn from ABBA really plan a Torchwood musical called We Will Rock You? Which
Oh, that's so wrong.
Still a better plot than Miracle Day.
True. Very true.
Which doctors shared a bed? Did Blue Peter and Sad Tony eventually find love? How did David Tennant become his own son-in-law?
We've covered that one.
Yeah.
We've covered that one. I think I wanted to insert the background music from I'm My Own Grandpa.
And was there really a sequel of Carnival of Monsters at Wembley Arena, or did we dream it?
I think there's a sequel every year. This is a very tongue-in-cheek book. This actually sounds amusing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with the title Space Helmet for a Cow, did you think it would be 100% serious?
I don't know what to think about it, because that's a First Doctor quote to begin with.
The First Doctor being a sarcastic asshole.
Yeah.
A wee bit of a troll.
But not as much of one as Moffat.
No, not as bad as Moffat at all.
Yeah.
At least he was a troll with a tongue firmly in his cheek, whereas Moffat's just a dick.
From the wilderness years in the 1990s to its triumphant 50th birthday celebrations, when every single person in the world sat down to watch Doctor Who together, except Christopher Eccleston, who was busy.
Oh.
Speaking of being a dick, God damn it, Chris! Put the grudge away. Join us in the light.
I think I want.
We liked you.
I kind of want to buy this book now.
Yes, but you have to get volume 1 as well.
No, this is essentially a completely updated new version of it.
No, this is volume 2.
Oh,
volume
so they've
1,
added extensions
Volume 1
to
covered 1963 to 1989.
Ah.
Volume 2 covers 1990 through 2013. It's not second edition, it's a second volume. So for the full story, you need both books.
So volume 3 will come out in about 5 years.
This is a comprehensive guide to Doctor Who's wilderness years with jokes that also works as a standalone read in itself.
Well, the excerpt is, but the book itself, this is only a small portion of the book itself.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you seeing the 2013 date, Rand?
It says on the cover, Volume 2, 1990 to 2013.
I was looking in the text of the article. That's why I didn't
look
see
at the image. Look under the mad true story of Doctor Who and above Paul Kirkley.
It's a good thing for the previous article I didn't say I don't read the articles, I look at the pictures, because then I'd be really embarrassed right now.
God damn it, Bill.
I hate to tell you this, Bill, but you got to do both. You at least have to skim the article and pull out all the relevant details. Oh, wait. I'm the one here that actually works as an editor and knows how to do that.
Fuck!
God damn it.
Hey, think of it as practice.
I use all of my reading ability at school. And then I come home and I just play Pokemon all day. The fact that I'm expected to think when I... too much from...
You know what's going to happen is it's going to completely corrupt Bill's mind. We're going to get him back for GeekCon this year. We're going to haul him off the plane, and Bill's just going to be there going, da 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 da. Wait, snap out of it, Bill. You have a panel to run.
I'll be throwing Pokeballs at con goers, trying to evolve them.
That would have so worked this year.
True.
We could have just said, nah, he's actually just Team Rocket. You didn't know it. But anyway, yes, so this is volume 2. It covers 1990 to 2013. Oh, you could buy this one alone, but you kind of feel like you picked up the story, right? You know, kind of in the middle of it.
Well, I mean, I suppose for people who only watch the RTD era onward, it might be worth picking up on without the first one. I personally would probably rather get both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes for most, if not everybody on this podcast.
Still,
personally, I look accusingly at people that only watch the 2005 plus run of Doctor Who because you don't know what they're missing.
I know of at least one person who said they cannot stand watching the quality of shows produced before like 1990 or so. Which
I actually know someone like that as well. But then again, he doesn't like Doctor Who, period. So Well, he especially hated Matt Smith, so.
Lock him in a room and force him to watch Nosferatu.
Yes. Ironically, that was one of the earliest movies that came to my mind that I watch as well.
Nosferatu, Gollum, House of Wax, and Metropolis.
Mm.
And Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Mm-hmm. Potemkin. Battleship Potemkin.
I think I might have heard of that, but it's not clicking for me.
I think it's time for me, yes?
Yeah, it is time for Bill.
The Circus of Dr. Lowe, Matt.
I've heard of that one.
I've actually seen it. I like it. Anyway, yes, Bill, you go.
I think my browser's seeing up on me, actually. All right, but I'll while that restarts, I'll go from memory. We have some Big Finish new releases, which I think is the only news that we have this week. The main range, because it is the end of the year, are releasing 2 Six Doctor stories. They don't have to do 2 Six Doctor stories at the end of the year, but they do now do 2 in September and 2 in December. And these are Absolute Power and Quicksilver, which are the conclusions of the trilogy that began in November. Put up. There we go. Featuring Miranda Rayson as Constance Clark. Okay. Oh, there we go. And one of them has Lisa Greenwood as Flip. So, Absolute Power, 2,000 years ago, all civilization on the planet Tama was wiped out in an AELE, an anomalous extinction level event. Now the galactic entrepreneur Liam Ice, or Yice, or something, hopes at last to learn the reason why the ancient Hymarians went extinct by funding a huge archaeological dig. While the Doctor probes the strange spheres found by Ice's diggers, his companion, former Bletchley Park cryptographer Constance Clark, agrees to help translate symbols written in the lost ancient language of the Hymarians. And soon they'll learn that ancient Taima's secrets were best left buried deep beneath its shifting sands, and that is written and directed by Jamie Anderson. The second one, Quicksilver, is written by Matt Fitton. It's a telegram Constance never wanted to read. Deeply regret to inform you, Lieutenant Commander H. Clark lost in action. Classified operation. Those classified operations concerned a top-secret military project codenamed Quicksilver, a project based in Vienna, a project with alien connection. But bombed-out Vienna is not what it was before the war, with its Strauss music, its glamour, and easy charm. It's not the time nor the place for a happy reunion, as Constance Clark is about to discover, and as the Doctor is about to discover too, and that last one referring to his reunion with Flip, who I'm not actually sure how she left the TARDIS, so I'm not sure whether to be confused or not.
I haven't been paying attention. I haven't got up to the section of the main range, but apparently something happened.
Right. And our other release this month is from the Early Adventures, and this is the first Doctor, The Centaurans, featuring Peter Purves and Jean Marsh. So this, I believe we covered the blurb to this not too long ago. This is in the middle of Dalek's master plan. And it does feature, for some reason, Dan Starkey as the classic Who Centauran.
Well, we'll see what they do with that, because usually Big Finish is pretty good on mixing up audio, so maybe they'll direct him to talk more like an old school Centauran.
That would be nice. But when we covered the trailer, I don't recall. I mean, I know there were some issues because they did not choose the best Peter Purves clips for the trailers, but I don't recall him sounding specifically like a classic Centauran.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
that'd be my opinion on it. Anyway.
And that is written by Simon Guerrier, starring Peter Purves and... And that is the end of our Big Finish news.
All right. So, in the last week, I was finally able to watch all the mid-season finales for the CW and for Gotham. And boy, they just kind of ended everything on a wham this year, didn't they?
And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, just had their mid-season last week as well.
Yes, I know. I haven't seen that one yet. I've seen the one before that, but we haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
But everything has been kind of Wham-like on that one.
Wham.
I mean, they really hyped up the mid-season finales on the CW with people there to do the reaction shots and interviews with cast members and stuff. It was really full-on hyped. And yeah, almost everything was just the last-minute wham.
Wham.
Legends of Tomorrow introduced a new major character in their mid-season.
Arrow brought back somebody in theirs. The only one that didn't have a major thing like that was Supergirl, because its mid-season finale led right into the invasion. Meanwhile, Gotham took a turn for the dramatic, as Gotham tends to.
Yeah.
I just caught up on that one today.
And I presumably fully wrote... damn it, what's her real name? But Lee out of the show, most likely.
We'll see. It's probably going to lead that way. I suspect she'll have another episode or two.
Right. I should know her name, but
well, she might also be filmed
up.
You're saying, Aaron?
Oh, sorry. She may also be filming Deadpool 2 soon.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah,
because
when I was catching up on...
Lee
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to...
Go ahead, Aaron.
Sorry. The lady who plays Lee plays Deadpool's girlfriend in the first movie.
When I was catching up, I found it ironic, like the exact amount of time she would have needed to leave the movie. I mean, to film the movie, she disappears and then comes back. And I'm like, oh, wonder if Lee had to leave and go film a movie as somebody else's girlfriend.
We've seen that happen before. I actually saw something the other day that shocked me. Just doing a Where Are They Now for some of the other stuff. I looked up Smallville, and I didn't realize that Jensen Ackles was in one season of Smallville, and he left that. He got written out of that one because he signed on to do Supernatural, which he's doing to this day as Dean Winchester. I was just like, really? That was him? It looks nothing like him.
Such a baby face back then.
It was just one of those what the hell moments when you realize an actor that you know was in something else and you didn't recognize him in that.
Right.
I've had that experience so many times in my life.
A couple times.
I've had a lot of occasions where like somebody will play a minor role, you know, the type of role that you might know the name of the character, but you wouldn't recognize the actor from because they don't occupy a big portion of your memory. And then you see them in a major role somewhere else, and then you go back to the original show, and now you can't unsee them as both characters.
Yeah, well, I even had that problem when an actor goes on to something else. It took me forever to separate Siler from Spock in the reboot Star Trek movies.
Yes, absolutely.
It took me about halfway through the first movie at the very least.
If Siler had showed up in Heroes Reborn, Star Trek 3 would have been a completely different experience.
Yeah, it might have. Kind of glad he didn't. But mind you, by now my brain has accepted him as Spock. It took a while. He doesn't have quite as memorable a voice as Nimoy. Nobody does.
Right.
And
I actually, just this week, I watched the documentary that Nimoy's son did about Spock.
Oh yeah, I've been meaning to see that at some point if I can.
Matt and I were playing an old copy of Civilization 4 that we both have a couple weeks ago. And the thing is, whenever you get a new technology in that, it has a little quote by Leonard Nimoy. Or a little quote by somebody, as read by Leonard Nimoy, and every time I heard it, I'd get sad.
No, it's not quote. It's literally Leonard Nimoy saying, "You have learned such and such technology."
If you play it in single player mode, there's a quote.
Oh.
What's the name of that nature show that Leonard?
It wasn't a nature. It wasn't a nature show. It was, what was it? In Search of.
Yeah, In Search of something, or it was a science show.
It was more of a historical show. It was In Search of a piece of history. But yeah, he did that for years. But yeah, watching stuff like that and you hear his voice, it makes you sad because you know he's not going to be around to make any more voices. It's one of the reasons that I can only half play Star Trek Online these days, because they use quotes and stuff from him in there, and you're just like, "Aw."
Well, one thing I learned from that documentary is that apparently Star Trek TAS, they were not going to cast either George Takei or Nichelle Nichols, but Leonard Nimoy basically said that if they weren't involved, he wasn't interested.
What was this?
Oh, good for
Star
him.
Trek the Animated Series.
Yeah, they were originally going to have like Majel Barrett, I think, and
Majel Barrett was going to do all of the female characters,
and James Doohan was going to do all the male ones except for Shatner. And yeah, he basically said no, they're in it too, and they fought to get them all into it, which is great because it worked.
Yeah,
and actually, Nichelle, I think, got to do another voice because I think she also became the voice of him.
She did her own assistant, the cat girl.
Yeah, Imres. Yep.
Reading
I'm sorry.
Spoilers. I'm reading spoilers for Arrow. Sorry.
Attention.
What spoilers?
But
apparently there are also Game of Thrones spoilers out now. But
yeah, I've hit so many of those. Just bouncing around the internet, and it's like, God damn it!
Have you just seen headlines, or like have you actually encountered the text of the articles?
I've seen stuff in passing.
Gotcha.
I'm on the Wikipedia the wiki for Arrowverse, looking up the latest episode of Arrow.
Well, so you wouldn't know if they have a reputable source or not.
No, I know that the stuff I've been reading about is stuff that has happened, and it's just stuff I haven't hit yet because I'm seasons behind.
Yeah, then you shouldn't read articles mentioning Game of Thrones.
No, it was articles on something else that used that in a passing reference.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, God damn it!
So, in passing, also, trailers. Has anybody seen the latest trailers for some of the Marvel movies coming up?
I saw the latest one for Rogue One, but I haven't seen anything for the Marvel movies lately.
I've seen the new Guardians of the Galaxy and the new Spider-Man trailer.
Oh, yes, I have seen the Guardians of the Galaxy one.
Yep.
You saw the full new one?
The Baby Groot one?
Yeah, the one where they actually named him Baby Groot.
Yes.
Well, Guardians of the Galaxy is still my favorite of the Marvel movies. It is the one I started smiling 5 minutes after it started and didn't stop smiling until the end of the movie.
So
my second favorite's Doctor Strange thus far.
My only issue with that trailer is that Drax uses an expression that would normally go over his head and he would catch it because it would not be fast enough. But
maybe
I'm kind of wondering if it's. I'm kind of wondering if Star-Lord taught it to him or if it's a plot hole.
If Star-Lord is starting to rub off on Drax,
right?
It could be.
It could be. They've been around with each other for about probably a year now, at least. But I would assume by the way things are going. So speaking of the newest trailer for that, duct tape. Hey, I got duct tape. Why do you need duct tape? I'm going to duct tape the kill us all button so that way he can't push it.
When I saw that,
you'd have duct tape.
I posted a status on Facebook when I saw that. The doctor. You know what I do when I see a big red button that must never, ever, ever be pressed? I am Groot.
I
like you.
No!
Has anyone else here watched The Mighty Boosh?
No, it doesn't sound familiar to me.
Because Rocket sounds so much like Bob Fossil from that show, it's kind of distracting.
And then you just hear the echoing "I am Groot" as he runs off the bomb, and you just look like a rocket.
I am Groot!
I am Groot! Oh, this is gonna be bad. Oh, that and then the new Spider-Man trailer.
I heard it was out. Haven't seen it yet.
Oh my word! The new Spider-Man looks like it's gonna be awesome too. I like the fact that we're actually sticking with a young Peter Parker right now. That's good. That does follow canon much better.
I've seen people pretty pissed off by that, but I'm okay.
They can go bite me. He was in high school for like 20 years.
Well, they're
he needs to be in high school for at least a little while.
They're basically saying that they're tired of them casting 20-something actors and pretending they're in high school. But if you've watched any movie or any television show that has anything to do with high school, they're
all 20-somethings, yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anybody except for maybe Second Doctor companions off the top of my head that were actually below 20 when filming something. Like, at least off the top of my head.
A couple of First Doctor ones, too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not much. It's not done as much anymore.
I don't know if Power Rangers has ever had an actor below 20 except for Justin.
I was just about to say. I think they had one.
Yeah, unless he's really just a height-deprived person, and we never knew about it.
Funny thing is that the White Ranger actually was a kid in the original Japanese version.
Yeah, in Die Ranger.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the new Spider-Man. They've also showed us what the new villain is going to be. It's going to be the Vulture.
We knew that.
I did not know that, and I'm going.
we reported that a while ago.
I thought so.
Is the Vulture played by Batman?
Yes.
Yes.
Birdman is Birdman. Another Birdman.
Bird person.
There's also a character name has been mentioned, and that name is associated with, but retconned as no longer actually having been Hobgoblin. So there's the possibility of Hobgoblin, but not necessarily.
Is it Norman or Harry?
Hobgoblin's Harry.
Oh, Hobgoblin.
Yeah, Norman is green.
No.
Harry was
Norman
green
and Harry were both Green Goblin.
I forget who the Hobgoblin was.
The Hobgoblin was revealed to be Ned Leeds, but then they said no, it's not Ned Leeds.
Ned Leeds is the name that I'm talking about. So basically, he was never intended to be the Hobgoblin, but when the original writer was taken off, somebody else revealed him as Hobgoblin. Then the original writer came back and retconned that out of being accurate. So It's kind of up to interpretation of this continuity's writers whether they choose to make him Hobgoblin or not.
Which is perfectly
fine. It may literally just be a name drop. He may be a reporter, or he may be a Hobgoblin.
We'll find out eventually.
Yes, we will.
First things first, it will be the Green Goblins, though.
They may not cover that again. Anyway,
they have to, but it'll come after Vulture, because Vulture is actually big for the Spider-Man comic books, because that's when he became the Amazing Spider-Man.
They may choose to cover Green Goblin in a flashback.
Figuring
that they don't want to tell a story that's already been told on film in the last 10 years.
Did Hobgoblin come before Green Goblin?
No.
Green
Goblin came first.
He did in the cartoon, not in the series, not in the comic.
Okay. That's what I was talking about.
They did that in the cartoon? Weird. Anyway,
it's 25 after. We should move on to the 5-minute challenge.
Could I try it this week?
And I've got my modest bro.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to do it, but I'll take another week off.
Right.
They don't let me do it anymore.
Of course, that's going to stick me with having to do an episode of Sarah Jane Adventures, but...
All right, stopwatch is ready. You ready, Miles?
I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, in this episode of Doctor Who, the Doctor and Rose end up in Cardiff, and there are dead people walking around, dead bodies just getting up and having to walk around. And Charles Dickens is there. Oh my! And there's one of the dead people end up with the Charles Dickens reading, as do the Doctor and Rose. And my accent's kind of going all over the place. I'm now kind of Scottish, so I'm kind of going to stick with it. Meanwhile, the Undertakers, where the bodies are coming from, take the body back and also kidnap Rose. And the Doctor teams up with Charles Dickens to rescue Rose. They get to the house of the Undertaker and find out what's going on. That there's a rift in time and space. And this rift is causing gas creatures to come through and to inhabit the bodies of the dead. And the Doctor takes the help of Gwyneth, who will never turn up in Doctor Who again, or any sort of spin-offs, who has psychic powers because of this rift, which will never be mentioned again. And it turns out that they are a race called the Gelth, who were destroyed by the Time War, and the Doctor feels very bad. And so he convinces Gwyneth to form a bridge so the Gelth can come through and inhabit the bodies of the dead, which kind of upsets Rose. But surprise, surprise, the Gelth are evil and plan to take over the world and kill everybody. But with the help of Charles Dickens and Gwyneth, the Doctor and Rose save the day and save Cardiff. Stupid buggers.
Take that as a notation to stop. You did it in 1 minute, 36 seconds.
You in a wig, a floral pattern dress, and a little handbag talking to me.
Yeah, you were. You did go a bit.
Awesome.
You did go a bit, Mrs. Doubtfire. There, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Although what you said about the accent being all over the place,
Scottish heritage.
What you said about the accent being all over the place reminds me of I recently listened to a Katie Manning trying to be Scottish, and I swear she sounded Irish the entire time until she mentioned the Highlands.
Yeah, Bob has that problem when doing. He tries to do accents when we're doing our tabletop game, and he, for the life of he cannot do a Scottish accent to save his life, because every time it comes out Irish. In fact, 9 times out of 10, he tries to do an accent, it comes out Irish.
Whereas I've learned just not to do accents.
If I want to do Irish, I do my Dahi and Ogra.
I've just learned I just don't have an accent, despite people telling me otherwise all the time.
Oh, you have an accent.
I have an accent. You all have accents. It's weird.
Yes, we do. We have an accent. It's called Northern Midwest Great Lakes accent.
If you speak, you have an accent.
No, that's Northwoods accent, Matt. That's Northwoods Minnesotan that you're doing there.
Down there by Dubuque, don't you know?
That reminds me, I have to share something with you that I found that Matt probably already saw because he's on Facebook as much as I am.
Which is?
But that we can discuss that after because I don't want to get off topic.
Yes, please, let's not. We actually need to go out and start doing our what we liked about this episode, what we didn't like. And according to my dice engine, which I did roll, I believe you're up first, Bill.
Okay, I'm actually going to say the effects, they're not exactly delicate, but they're effective. And I think they serve the episode well.
Okay. Aaron?
I liked the comparison between the Doctor and Charles Dickens. Both are scientifically minded men. Except the Doctor seems to have, even after all the Time War and everything, he seems to have a more open mind, more willing to accept things than Charles Dickens is. It's kind of a good comparison between being scientifically minded and being open-minded, and being closed-minded and also into science. So I thought that was nice.
All right, Miles?
Christopher Eccleston, because I've not watched this episode since, I think, 2005, 2006. So it's been so long since I've seen Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. And just remembering how amazing he was.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike David Tennant and Matt Smith, and to a lesser extent Capaldi, who are very dominant outwards. Christopher Eccleston can be standing in a doorway in the background and still be the most important thing in the shot. I just forgot how good he was as the Doctor.
All right. Yeah, Eccleston's unbelievable as the Doctor because he can do such an emotional range, but I never think of this episode as being the one to show that. I tend to think more like Dalek when I see that range, but to each their own. Tim?
I really liked the character of Charles Dickens because, to me, this is the prime example of how to do the arbitrary skepticist right. Where his reluctance to accept that everything, the sort of thing he's been writing about all these years is actually happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt?
To kind of go off that a little bit, I thought, and looking up this information really quick, Simon Callow, who played Charles Dickens, was really good, and I happened to be wondering, why was he so good at it? Doing a little bit of research and a few things on Wikipedia later, I come to find out he'd been playing Dickens for years. And he was actually approached to play Dickens for the Doctor Who in this episode, and he only did it because he thought that Dickens was written properly for this. I'm like, that in and of itself is amazing, and he did a great job, and he even does a guest cameo a couple of seasons later. He still looks the part, and it just hammers it home. I absolutely loved his character, and the fact that he's researched the actual man himself long enough to actually feel right in his shoes when he's doing something as fantastical as Doctor Who is amazing.
It's actually
cameo?
It's actually 6 years later he does the cameo.
Yeah.
It's The Wedding of River Song.
He does the cameos.
Oh, okay. When they
Dickens again.
I didn't realize they did any RTD era cameos in that.
Oh yeah, that was one of the few they did. But it was him being interviewed on a daily talk show.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say what I liked about this episode was the feel. I don't know if it was the pacing or what it was, but coming off the last two episodes, which were frantic, fast pace, Rose was always kind of mediocre to me. And while I like End of the World, it never felt quite fully Doctor Who. It felt more like Douglas Adams. This one was the first one that my body actually went, yeah, this is Doctor Who. This feels like Doctor Who. It has the pacing, the feel that I want it to. And if it probably wasn't for this episode when I originally saw it, I might not have made it through the following two.
Oh, yeah, the next two are a little bit rough.
All right, so that's what we liked about this episode. What didn't we like? And again, you're up first, Bill.
Okay. Well, since I couldn't come up with something today, I'm going to come up with my only real complaint about it initially, and that is that this is the one episode in the season that does not seem to be related to the season plot, which is pretty minor, but since I didn't come up with anything new, that's what I'm going to stick with.
The general plot isn't. It does bring up the Time War, and it does bring up Bad Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, actually, yeah. I mean, in the Time War at the time, I at least at this point, I consider that just to be what reboot Doctor Who is about, although, of course, it becomes less and less that by mid-next season, if not early next season, actually come to think about it. But
that actually might be part of what I liked about the feel is the fact that it didn't have to do with anything really other than itself. It just had the feeling of a standalone episode. And that's what it felt like to me. And there's even little bits that I liked about it, like the fact that in the previous episodes when the TARDIS materialized as Pyramide, there was this huge air rush. which was only ever seen in the TV movie before. And in this one, it just materializes smoothly. And that felt like a classic episode that way. I don't know. It's just little things like that all built up. All right, Aaron, what didn't you like about the episode?
Nothing huge or major, just a little nitpick is what the doctor, I guess the doctor was going to take the dead bodies with him, but obviously the bodies are still going to decay and produce disease, so that was kind of something that...
And you take mine.
Oh.
That was the only issue I have with this episode, is the fact that the bodies had like a shelf life of about 6 months.
Yeah.
Before they would hit black putrefaction and would just start slopping to pieces.
Mm-hmm. So even if the Gelth dead did manage to kill everybody, they would just have to move on. Maybe that's the reason why they were such a threat.
Just parasite gas monsters.
I mean, I imagine that they would have kept like human farms or something.
It's not the problem. The problem is they do nothing to keep the meat alive, to keep the meat from rotting, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
They're living in the gas produced by the body rotting.
Well, what I mean is that they would keep living humans and then kill new ones when they needed to.
There still wouldn't be enough bodies for them.
They didn't seem to indicate that. They seem to indicate that there were billions of them and they all needed bodies now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Time to kill all the humans, because that's intelligent.
They weren't exactly patient. It seems like a real dead end evolution-wise.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Step 1. Kill all humans. Step 2. Step 3.
Gas.
Conquest.
Profit.
Yeah, it's step 1, kill all humans. Step 3, walk around in human meat suits. Step 3, ? Step 4, profit. The fuck? All right, Miles, how about you? What didn't you like about the episode?
The thing I noticed watching this is with Gwyneth, while I expect Charles Dickens and Sneed, which is a fantastic name, to talk to her like she's stupid because 19th century class issues.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the Doctor also really, really talks down to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, almost
Doctor
as if
talks
she,
down to everybody.
but even more so, because normally the Doctor, just kind of talks to people like either they're stupid or he has no time for their idiocy. Whereas with Gwyneth, it's almost like he's talking to her as she's simple. And that
Could you give an example? Because I didn't notice that.
kind of at the end when he's he's talking to the Gelf in the context of them being angels, and that they're not the angels he thought they were.
Well, he's trying to put it into terms that she's going to easily understand. I don't think it's really him talking down to her.
I don't think he's talking down to her. I think he's trying to get through to her because everyone else has been trying to get through to her and it's not going through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to find a way to get through to her consciousness as she's basically being a conduit at that point.
The way you describe it, and I'm not recalling the actual dialogue because I guess that scene just didn't stand out to me while I was rewatching it. But it kind of reminds me of when he's talking to what'd you say his name was? Sneed? When he was like, they're from whatever this other place is and they're trying to get here, and he's just going along with what the human he's speaking with believes because it's a lot easier than trying to explain the way he wants to.
Yeah, that's true. I could just be putting out of context.
I just like the fact that the doctor didn't, and I don't think Rose either, they didn't invalidate Gwyneth's beliefs. It's obvious that she believes in a heaven and that her parents are looking down on her and everything, and you didn't see the doctor or Rose like sneer or go like, oh, come on, you don't believe in that garbage, do you? And stuff like that, or kind of a more modern sensibility that could have been written in there. They were both pretty respectful of
it wasn't
that.
It wasn't cynical.
Mm-hmm.
Sneed is a lovely Dickensian name, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Tim, what didn't you like about this episode?
I didn't like how it turned out that the Gale were evil. Like, I thought, man, they had a chance to do something, but safe route, and we're not. I mean, writing-wise, it's the safe route because it's bull.
Yeah, they actually had a chance. They actually had a chance to further their species, and instead they decided to destroy it. Ultimately,
yeah. In retrospect, though, it's not that surprising. The Gelf were affected by the Time War. As we have learned, everything that's come out of the Time War is twisted and psychotic.
Mm-hmm. And it's also, as you mentioned, it being the safe route. It seems to me that any time there's a major moral argument between the two main characters of a series, the argument ends up ending by the cause of it dying rather than actually coming to any sort of answer.
Mm-hmm. Like it's silly to me that the Gelf could have gone with the Doctor, and the Doctor could have found a way to actually given them a more permanent ability to live. So, but like Rand said, that they're kind of twisted.
Yeah.
All right, so Matt, what you know, likey?
Actually, this one kind of stuck out to me after I first saw this. So Rose has to completely change her outfit, but the Doctor's completely fine running around in a leather jacket like that.
Yep, but the Doctor's done that forever. I mean, especially his 6th incarnation. Frickin' Perry dresses for proper Victorian gear in Mark of the Rani. The Doctor's still in that frickin' Dayglow or patchwork contraption of hell.
Actually, he gets rid of it halfway through the story, thank God.
But still, nobody comments on it.
True.
The Doctor is the fashion equivalent of going to another country and then shouting very loudly, "Excuse me, do you speak English?"
Pardon me, have you seen my loud leather jacket with these fancy modern buttons and zippers on it? Hi!
They probably just think he's an eccentric gentleman.
The fact is, I'm more surprised that people keep making comments on his jacket throughout this entire series. It is the only time in Doctor Who history that we do get comments on that, other than those made by a companion.
Right. Yeah, because the Doctor will make comments probably because he's used to, people perceiving his companions as naked or otherwise inappropriate, but he tends to consider himself immune most of the time.
This and the 6th Doctor's jacket are probably the least immune to scrutiny as far as I'm concerned.
Because, yeah, the 4th Doctor walked around in that coat, scarf all the time. Nobody made a freaking comment.
Right. Except for the only thing outlandish about that outfit was the scarf.
Didn't he wear a costume for one of the Victorian era stories?
Yes, Wang Chiang. He wore a bit of a Sherlock Holmes XB outfit,
including a deer hunter hat.
Yep.
Yeah.
And didn't he even have a pipe at one point?
Yes, he did. It was pretty much that landed him the role in Hound of the Baskervilles, I'm fairly certain.
Pretty sure, yep.
Why is this old?
And the frickin' 5th Doctor wandered around time and space in an Edwardian cricketer's outfit, which came into use once.
Because of the leaf of celery.
That's because they never filmed the Cricket Men.
But, the thing is that nobody made comments on these outfits. And, yeah, it's just suddenly with his black leather jacket, he gets all these comments on, looking like a U-boat captain.
Mm-hmm.
Or, as Dickens says, a navvy. And that's actually more shocking to me than the fact that that's what he does.
I think that's the only person that comments on that other than the other time traveler.
Still, that jacket does stick out in Edward in the 1800s there a bit.
Right.
Just a bit.
All right, so that was Miles. I believe we're up to Tim now.
That was me. Did we
That
do
was
Miles?
Yeah, we
the
would have had
detective
to
was
if
me.
we did you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I guess then we're at me, and mine was taken. Mine was the same as Aaron. So what didn't I like about this episode? The next episode credits. Next. Best scenes. And Bill, you're first.
I like the scene where Gwyneth is reading and interpreting what she sees in Rose's memory.
Yeah,
She's like the metal boxes and birds in the sky. Wait, they're metal too.
With people in them. People flying? Yeah. The absolute shock and wonder in her voice.
Right.
That's a great scene.
And the big bad wolf and backs away instantly.
Aaron.
Let me see here. Hang on, I keep going. Oh, yeah. I like the scene with the doctor and Charles Dickens in the cab.
God! 2 in a row!
I had a feeling that scene was going to be taken.
In what way do you resemble an instrument to cool oneself?
Didn't they have the word fan back then, or weren't people fans of things in the 19th century?
I think fanatic was used.
Fanatic, not fan. It was shortened to fan probably sometime later.
Probably in the 30s or 40s.
I know
possibly.
Fenn.
By the 50s or 60s for sure, though.
Yeah, I know Fenn was like a long time word for Renaissance fair fan. So, but yeah, I just thought that that scene was incredibly witty and just fun to sit through. He's like, "Who's, what are you just waiting there for?" He's like, "Well, this is my cab. Well, then get in."
Fanatic was used as the noun around 650.
Don't call me Charlie. Oh, I hear the girls call you that all the time. How do you know that? Because I'm your number one fan.
Wikipedia does not have a year for when the shortened version started being used, just for longer versions.
I love how the driver says, "You want me to throw this guy off?" And after Charles Dickens hears some praise, he says, "No, he can stay."
It says that it was used in sporting references from the early 18th to the 19th, so it should have been around, but it just might not have gotten.
It might not have been quite popular at that point. It was probably just starting for sport, and it was only related to sports fans, quote unquote.
Okay, Miles.
And it was used by Americans, so it may not have made it across the pond.
Might not have crossed the pond yes.
for a few years yet. Okay. Yep.
All right, Miles, you're up.
Favorite scene?
Favorite scene, yes.
Favorite scene, it has to be the moment when the Doctor and Rose are locked in the chamber, and Rose takes the Doctor's hand, and the Doctor says, "I'm glad I met you."
Aww.
Because so much of the Ninth Doctor, when he's being very kind of happy and jolly, it always kind of, for a lot of time, it feels very forced, like he's trying to push himself to be kind of happy and wacky. So when the Doctor genuinely smiles and says something very kind of positive and caring and emotional, it sells every time. Especially for the Ninth Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't that like shortly after he mentions that now he's about to die in a basement in Cardiff?
Yeah.
In a dungeon in Cardiff.
The Ninth...
And now I'm about to die in a dungeon. In Cardiff.
The Ninth Doctor is very tactile. He's very much a hand-holdy type, which seems weird. Now we're kind of in an era where the Doctor has snogged everybody.
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
I mean, that pretty much started with the 10th Doctor era. I'm the Doctor, and I just snogged Madame de Pompadour. Yeah. Moffat!
No, it started with the Doctor snogging the moment. I mean, not the moment. Bad Wolf.
The Bad Wolf,
and,
but...
Yeah.
Well, there was
They
that,
embrace-
and actually it goes
And the-
before then. There was a particular scene with a particular doctor where he kissed her, another doctor right on the lips.
Yeah,
So
that
the
was
doctor
the,
kissed
that was,
another
that was
for a
the
doctor.
TV
end, that was
movie.
the end of the TV movie, which when that happened caused a lot of anger.
Actually, wasn't that the second time
Yeah.
he kissed her in that story, though?
Yeah, but
Yes.
that was the one that raised the anger.
Mm.
He was amnesiac prior to that.
And everyone knows that if you kiss someone and have amnesia, it's not cheating.
And
he
we never
kid-
actually saw the doctor snug Romana. Except for maybe in a commercial for a computer.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that and also excerpts from episodes that didn't exist. At least not canonically.
Yeah, so he was very, very much hands off. Although everyone does say that, and I've mentioned it a few times, that the Doctor and Romana 2 era seemed more like the Doctor taking her on an extended date. But, yeah, he's become more increasingly touchy-feely these days.
Date or
Although
honeymoon, you
Capaldi
decide.
is taking that step backwards again.
Kind of, sorta. He's an older gentleman. He doesn't care as much for the snogging.
I
Yeah,
think
but he's not even into the hugging.
the only person Capaldi has snobbed has been the Master.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, he did spend a very long night with Alex Kingston, so there might have been some off-screen happenings.
Yes, but that was not on screen. Therefore,
Nothing official, nothing to say.
keep your perverted mind to yourself, Bill.
Keep Rule 34 in the 34 website, please.
All right. So who are we up to? Is it Tim?
I didn't go yet.
Yeah. Well, Tim's before you. You're before me.
Okay. I keep forgetting where Tim is.
I'm right here, like I've always been.
All of a sudden he starts fading away. No.
But I exist. I exist.
All right, Tim.
All right.
So your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is the scene where Charles Dickens has a brief crisis of identity sort of thing, where
He has that moment.
like, what have I been doing with my life? Has it all been of a waste? And
The first scene. Mm-hmm.
it's nice to see like one of the Doctor's heroes through the Doctor's eyes in a moment of vulnerability.
Yeah, not the first scene, Matt. The one where he's coming to realize that the world is a weirder place, and he's been the one that's been railing against the weirdness.
Or that he's been trying to be like this, do all this his social work, like social justice. It's like
Now, the thing is, what Charles Dickens did was he was very much against people that claim to have psychic powers and all that. People that claim to use the supernatural, seances.
Essentially, he was very for finding the truth about that stuff, but he also was very much for railing against the people he found out to be fake.
Mm-hmm. And by the point that this is happening, 1969, I think he had kind of lost his belief in that any of it was real at all. He had become very jaded.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you have here is a jaded person who has suddenly realized that, yes, this stuff can exist, and it's basically just shaking his belief system. So he's coming to grips with that, and they do it. Yes, it's a very good scene. Okay, Matt, your favorite scene?
Oh, which one to go with? I think I'll actually go for the last scene where they decide to give old Charlie one last little present by teleporting out and right in front of him, and
Matt.
You can even see the snow falling off as the TARDIS disappears, which is a nice little touch.
And he rocks off just cackling.
Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't even need to know all the facts about the Doctor. He now knows the Doctor is a very advanced man from somewhere far beyond but his understanding at the moment. That's all he needed to know.
All right, so my favorite scenes were taken, but there's a kind of a minor special effects scene that I liked just because of the reference to it. And it's right after Dickens, I think, runs out of the basement and out of the house as the doctor and Rose and the others are down there. And he's standing outside the door catching his breath, and you watch as the knocker, one of the ghosts kind of makes the knocker glow and goes out of it in a very a Christmas Carol-esque reference there.
And you can tell it was an intentional reference because I think the first lines out of Dickens' mouth is him reading that scene to the crowd.
Not in that scene. That's the old.
No, but I mean, the first words out of his mouth in the episode, I think.
No, that's the second scene he's in, Bill. The first scene was him questioning the continuing on of the act and so forth. But it was his second scene, so it was where he gets introduced into the main part of the story.
One of the earliest lines of his then.
But I just like the fact that they made that reference in that little micro scene there. It just did it for me there.
Yeah, he just looks at the knocker, and there it is, popping right out through the knocker. Yeah. And he yelps and quickly runs down the street, and then it gets caught in the lamp. Because there's not enough gas.
All right, so what about your least favorite scene? And Bill, you're up.
Makes it my turn. I'm actually going to disagree with Tim because one of the scenes with Dickens, he had just seen the ghosts face to face, and he was like, "No, I still don't believe this. I'm gonna go leave the room." And I'm like, "Really, guy?"
Well, that was more of just him being completely unable to come to grips with it. It's, like I said, it's the fact that your reality has just been shattered. That was denial.
It was some pretty hard denial, though.
Yeah. Aaron, how about you? Your least favorite scene?
I think my least favorite scene was actually with the Gelth circling the knocker in front of Charles Dickens. I thought it was a little bit corny. Maybe if this was at a time before Charles Dickens had written A Christmas Carol and that somehow inspired him to write it, then that would have kind of been a little bit better. But unless and there's also the idea of maybe the Gelf can read his mind. He's like looking up at the knocker and they're like, "Oh, you wrote a story about this, so we're just going to freak you out even more."
Which is a distinct possibility.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was more just a coincidence that just hammered it into his head.
Yeah. But at this point in the story, in this episode of Doctor Who, he's already written a Christmas Carol, as the Doctor mentions, and
it's shown repeatedly.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean hammered in his head, but just drove. I meant it's just a coincidence that drove the point home to him. So I liked it. You didn't.
Yeah.
Miles, how about you? Your least favorite scene?
My least favorite scene is also a scene that someone put as their best scene, which
seems to be a ongoing thing.
All of a sudden.
Which is the Doctor and Dickens in the cab with Dr.
I think two people chose that as their best scene.
Yeah, that was on mine too.
It just kind of feels a little bit too sort of meta and speaking to, it felt a little bit too meta, especially at the time because this was when Doctor Who was coming back. And you'd probably, I guess they were expecting, or Gatiss was expecting, a lot of people in the audience were just going to complain. And so you have the Doctor acting like the quintessential negative fan, and then saying, "Well, if you can't take criticism," it felt a little bit too almost breaking the fourth wall there for me.
It didn't bother me at all. I mean, him kind of rattling on about a fanboy. I actually thought that's kind of awesome. He's a geek.
I mean,
Yeah,
I was seeing it as being a little too over the top if it was, say, a Moffat episode, because Moffat has suffered the most critiquing out of anyone who has been working on Modern Who.
well, not at that point.
Yeah.
But not at that point, yeah.
I'm not. I mean, you may be reading into it right. I at the very least, you're reading more into it than I was. I look at it now and I'm like, that's a little over the top and cringy, but that's the worst that I see in it.
Well, I'm also
back when I first started, I think it was fine because I think I think it helps to introduce people to some of the intricacies of time travel with the things of language changing. So I think for new viewers, which I think they expected to be the majority, it was a useful scene. Now I look at it as a little over the top.
Sorry, I'm watching the Cat Olympics going on the other side of the living room right now.
I've been taunting the
Bucky's excited.
No, it's Napa. But no, the way I thought about it is the fact that I thought that Eccleston, well, actually the Ninth Doctor, might have deliberately added on a little bit of extra oomph when he realizes, oh, it's his cab and I need to borrow it. So might have gone deliberately over the top in order to flatter him down.
Mm-hmm.
Because you notice he's never that level of fanishness towards him the rest of the episode.
Right. Yeah. He's pretty quickly like, if you're going to be an idiot, just GTFO.
Yeah. So I think with that, I think he was buttering him up a little bit.
I never thought about it that way, Miss Lee.
Oh yeah, it actually did occur to me that he was kind of buttering him up. I don't know. I also just kind of liked it because I like kind of the manic performance of Eccleston's Doctor there. We're used to seeing him be a little bit darker, a little bit more,
Well, you see, that kind of manicness is how he wanted to play it, but they kept telling him to go dark, and that was what eventually caused him to quit.
Which is exactly the problem that Hartnell was having. Except he didn't want to be manic, but the same thing.
Thing is, Hartnell
they kept telling him be darker. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, according to later on, Hartnell won because the fans reacted more positively when he became more of a grandfather figure.
Although I will say that, RTD did have a reason why he wanted the Doctor to go dark, even if he didn't explain everything. Well, he kind of explained.
PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Tim, we are up to your least favorite scene.
My least favorite scene is when Dickens is giving his told stories thing, and he says, "And Marley looked like that." The audience is like, that was a bit of an obvious setup.
It was, but I was kind of waiting for it when it happened, so it didn't really bother me. I actually kind of like that scene.
Almost surprised that someone didn't know something was funky about her earlier.
I'm a little surprised nobody in the audience thought that, it was intentional. They're like, oh, it's part of the show.
Yeah,
that's what I would have been.
Interesting.
I'm sure that would have been the first thought until the ghost started circling the room.
All right, so Matt, your least favorite scene.
Oh, least favorite. Actually, this is one that bothers me slightly. So we decide to kidnap Rose because she knows too much, but then we decide to try and lock her in the room with the cadavers that we know are going to wake up. And if she happens to just wake up in time to not get murdered by them, then she's obviously going to make a lot of noise and get a lot of attention. That was genius.
Yeah, Sneed was not thinking at that point.
Yeah, they would
he was reacting instead of...
He's basically like, well, I can't have her leave, but I don't have the balls to kill her either.
Yeah,
and we can't just abandon her somewhere.
And then he would have had a third corpse on his hand that's moving around and everything.
And it also would have been possessed.
Yeah, he did not have a lot of forethought.
No, he kind of flew off the cuff on that a little too fast.
Oh my god, can you imagine if they had killed Rose? The Doctor would be so mad. Would the Doctor have even helped with the Gelf?
He probably would have just set the entire place ablaze.
He probably would have helped the Gelf like sacrifice Sneed or something, and then he would have turned around like as he was about to leave in his TARDIS and realized the Gelf were destroying humanity, and then he would have turned around and beat them too.
Nah, I don't know. I don't think the Doctor would have gone that far. It's kind of hard to tell though with Eccleston's because of the PTSD, but. I would have liked to thought that would still be crossing a line he doesn't want to cross.
That's the thing. I don't think we've ever seen somebody kill a companion that wasn't a Dalek or a Cyberman. Actually, wait. Yeah, because technically, someone didn't kill Katarina. She kind of sacrificed herself. Adric was Cyberman, and there was no love lost there between him and the Cyberman anyway.
I always saw Sarah Kingdom as a companion, but I think her status is a little shaky.
She was killed. I mean, she was killed either by Daleks or by her own not following orders, depending on how you look at it. And again, no love lost between the Daleks. He hates them. He hated them with every fiber of his being at that point already.
There aren't that many companions that we've seen killed. But then again, looking forward, you look at Tennant and what happened when the guy shot his daughter.
And he was very heavily tempted to pull that trigger.
He was, but he didn't because he knew that line and he couldn't cross it. So I think,
in this episode though, it's and this is damn it, it's one of the Batman movies I haven't watched, so I'm not necessarily going to be quoting it right. But there's that whole, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you.
And begins.
Yeah.
And I could see the Ninth Doctor crossing that line.
I'm wondering about that. I don't know.
Like the Doctor turns on the gas full blast like they did in this episode, but like he waits for like a spark to fly and blow up the place. And
meanwhile, the ghosts could try to make their attempts on anybody until it blows up.
Like I said, I don't know if he could do that and still be able to call himself the Doctor the next day.
He already questions that because of the Time War, though. So
yeah, I know that's the line I'm not sure about because of all the PTSD from what was happening.
You say that, but we still need to review the Silurians one day.
Yeah, we do. But that's for another day.
Yep.
Where were we? Where were we?
Tim? After Tim. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just did Tim, so it'd be me?
Yes.
Wait, this is Lee's favorite scene, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I could have sworn I already did. Maybe I didn't.
Maybe you
actually,
did.
no, I just did. No, the Rose sealed up in the room with the cadavers.
Okay,
I'm not thinking.
Then it's me.
Then it's Randy,
I think and mostly because I don't have a lot of worse scenes. I think the only one that sticks out in my head is being a little bit that is when the Sneed tries to stop the old lady from attacking her son and just basically lets her snap his neck.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a little too in my face. Thank you. But that's really about it.
No wonder they needed a Justice Once Everybody Lives that season.
Yeah, it was pretty grim. All right, so final thoughts. Bill.
I think it's a pretty good episode. It's not one of the top blow me away episodes, but I think it was enjoyable. It's working out a few kinks as being, one of the earliest parts of the earliest season of the revival. But otherwise, I think it was pretty successful and funny at times.
All right, Aaron.
Coming out off of the last episode of this season of Class, I nearly got whiplashed when I encountered the higher quality of writing in this episode. And it's not necessarily, and I'm not necessarily that huge of a fan of the Russell T Davies era, although it's kind of slowly growing on me with each time I rewatch an episode. I seem to like it a little bit more than when I previously saw it. But it's the same thing with this one. I didn't really remember, I didn't even remember Gwyneth blowing herself up that's how long it's been since I've seen this episode. It's been a while, I should say. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. It actually made me want to get up and read a Charles Dickens book or short story or something. Actually, that ghost story that they mentioned.
The Signalman.
Yeah, The Signalman. So it kind of made me want to read a good Charles Dickens book or something. And I thought it was very well written. And the settings, the costumes, the special effects were actually pretty decent too. So definitely give it a try or give it a watch.
All right. And Miles?
Well, like Aaron said, at least it's not class. It was fun when this episode's always been what I found fun. It was fun when I saw it back in 2005, and it's fun today. It's strange to be watching something which I now feel incredibly nostalgic for. Like, that was an age that is now so long ago. It's like, oh, I feel nostalgic for the Christopher Eccleston era of Doctor Who. And so...
You realize that's over a decade ago now.
It's disturbing because that... the same kind of weeks this was airing, I was going to my first No Brand Con.
Huh. Yeah. I was attending, I had started attending UW Anime Club when we started watching this, like about a year before they started showing these.
Yeah.
And they started showing these before Club because of Randy.
Matt actually lived in Madison back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I would grab the latest code, usually from a person by the name of Mad Martha, who would I'd grab it off a download site I had, and I'd bring it to Anime Club and would show it in the alt room because they wouldn't let us show anime, but hey, we could show Doctor Who. And I remember downloading this one and most of the other ones.
I believe this was actually the second episode I saw originally.
Anyway, Miles, go ahead. The rest of your thoughts.
This was the first episode where it's kind of like it finally settled in. Doctor Who is back. It's not just the first two episodes have passed. It was like maybe this is real. Maybe we'll have 13 brand new episodes of Doctor Who, and that'll be amazing. And so, in conclusion, my rating is 4 Cardiff jokes out of.
Rating later.
Rating later. You jumped ahead. You jumped ahead of the queue there, Miles.
Okay, I'm done. Later.
Okay, Tim.
Well, like most of you, I hadn't seen this episode in a really long time. Since because I saw the Christopher Eccleston episodes, or the first Doctor Who episode I saw, and then I went through the whole Matt Smith, Dave Tennant Smith to now, and it reminded me of why I loved Christopher Eccleston so much. He was actually my favorite modern Doctor until Capaldi came along. I think Capaldi just edges him out now, but I thought this was a great performance by him, as well as the supporting cast was, however small it might be, it was all top notch. And it was a well-written episode. It reminded me of how to make intimate stories like this well-rounded.
All right. Matt.
Oh, I'm trying to remember the last time I saw this too. Must have been when I first got the DVD pack, which would have been about 5 years ago. But it's been a while. I do frequently go back to Chris. He was technically he was my first Doctor. I've heard of Doctor Who before seeing Chris's run, but I never actually got to sit down and see full episodes until this episode, actually. Otherwise, technically speaking, very well written story for the most part. There are a few little bits, but this was the first one that really hammered it home. This is also technically one of their most expensive because they actually had to do cheapy effects in order to finish all the effects in-house because they were starting to overextend their budget on the effects, actually. And also they hired up possibly one of the best actors they could for a guest cameo, or a major guest cameo in the episode. And we also have one of the better doctors of the modern run. And just everything kind of neatly packaged up. It wasn't perfect, but it was also still probably one of the best examples of what Doctor Who could be at the top up to that point.
Okay. As for me, I've watched this episode quite frequently because it does have a special place in my heart. Like Miles, it is the point where it did settle in that Who was back and was here to stay. I was over the initial yee from New Who. And like I said, we had a lackluster episode and a beautiful episode, but a weird one. And then we got this. And this, to me, screamed Doctor Who more than anything I had seen up to this point. It still screams Doctor Who to me today, although it has more of a nostalgia feel to it now. It does. It's still, I love this episode. I will always continue to love this episode. It's acted wonderfully. It's well written with a couple of small little holes that any sci-fi could have gotten wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The effects are well done for what they are. Directing is great. I really don't have much I can say against this episode. All right, ratings. So, Bill, you first.
I'm saying a 4 out of 5.
All right. Bill has spoken. Aaron.
I think I will also give it a 4 out of 5.
Miles. Now you can give your rating.
All right, I'm gonna give it 4 awkward cab rides with Charles Dickens out of 5.
All right. Tim?
In the spirit of Christmas, I shall give this 4.5.
God bless us, everyone.
Matt?
I'm actually up there with Tim. I'm going to give this a 4.5. Almost perfect.
Yep, and I'm up there with Matt and Tim. I'm giving this a 4.5.
So this is a clear-cut 4.25?
Yeah, 4.3.
Or 4.3, yeah. Blech.
4.3. So it averages out to 4.3, which carried over. Actually, it is 4.25, but it rounds up to 4.3.
True, if we're not going to do 5s. But we don't round up that number, do we? No, occasionally
yes, we do.
That's
we
right.
do.
So I guess if you're rounding it up to a whole, yeah.
And add a 4.3, and yes, this sheet will pay attention to halves versus wholes for when it places it. At 4.3, it is in a very large pack, but will come in at number 46 out of 181. So it's in there, or it's right next to The Last Christmas. Right next, it's the very bottom of the 4.3s. So it's just above Frontier in Space, Destiny of the Daleks, Hellbent. And it has Nightmare on Silver, Dalek Invasion of Earth, Web of Fear. It's in very good company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we have to say about the Unquiet Dead. Another one bites the dust, and it is number 43 in the pretty much the top third of the Doctor Who's we've reviewed.
Which is so crowded it's hard to get up there, so good job.
Yep.
Well, if you enjoy listening to us, you can go ahead and like the video to show your support, even though I have confirmation that does not, in fact, affect YouTube's current algorithm, but go ahead anyway. What does matter is that you subscribe to us on YouTube and at twitch.tv/Unearthly Podcast. And if you can also like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want, you can support us at patreon.com/Unearthly Podcast or gofundme.com/MIBSpain.
You watched that Matt Pat bit too, didn't you?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So on next week's show, we're once again going back into spin-off land, but this time to a bit of an older spin-off. We are going to review an episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, not the first episode, but one of the ones that had a very special guest star, the final performance of Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier. Next week, it is going to be the Sarah Jane Adventures, Enemy the Bane, written by Phil Ford and starring Elizabeth Sladen and Nicholas Courtney, both of which are late great actors.
Which means that if we're not going to be crying our eyes out, we will try to attempt a review.
Yes.
Yeah.
It may become a very long kind of a wake for us. And this is assuming we can get a hold of the episode, which is...
which should be interesting.
Not on Netflix.
I believe Matt actually did a short music video for this too, for the passing of Sarah Jane
passing of both of them, of Elizabeth and Courtney.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so see you next week.
See you all next week. I'm already getting depressed.
Bye-bye.